Alright guys, welcome back. So let's have a look at SOUNHound, S-O-U-N. So last time we looked at this name, August 31st, we were talking about the stock being choppy, and ever since we haven't looked at it. So October 8th, so far 1888, it did definitely improve. Price action has improved from that time. If I bring up all of the moving averages, stock is above all of its moving averages and it's uptrending so far. And you can see how 20-day, how 50-day has been acting as a support, and so far lately, even 5-day has been acting as a pretty much support. Today, it did try to push towards 20, and I'm not sure what was the sum of the table. SOUNHound, Jim Cramer. Okay, I have to take a look at this one. But anyways, so $20, that's your pivotal area. Okay. But if we go back to last year's end, where this stock pretty much did similar price action. I want to go, let's go a little bit further. So this is previous year price action, where stock initially had from the beginning of 2024, from around like $2 all the way to $8. Pulls back, hovers around 200-day moving average, spends quite some time consolidating, and then come November, December, it does break out of this 10. At that time we were watching 10, and then it just went parabolic all the way to 25. So now this time around, if we come back to 2025, we have a similar situation where we have beginning of the year, end of last year, pretty epic move, and then come down to 200-day moving average, hovers around 200-day moving average, and it's now speeding up going into the end of the year. Okay, so big area 24. Okay, so if it does break out, certainly I'll be watching something like $30, $35, something like that. At the moment, capitalization of SOUNHound is $7.6 billion. But on the other hand, I want to show you guys this chart. So before we jump into the options, this is the essentially largest block orders cluster from the last November. You can see into the end of the year. This is where we saw large orders come in, okay? And that was the top. This is where essentially even NVIDIA dumped their stake 100%, but they announced it somewhere around there, right there. So now we're seeing similar picture here, but the difference is, let me just go 30 days. Just so we can see clearly what's going on. But this time around, we have all the AI stocks going pretty crazy. Pull up anything, but I just want to show you guys SOX. Okay, so this is semiconductor index essentially. Okay, you can take a look at something else, but there's also SMH, I believe. But year to date so far, semiconductors as a whole, pretty much AI theme, 36% up, while S&P 500 is only up 15%, I believe, right? So the point is, look at AMD, look at all the like Nibis, even APLD, right? There are just many AI names. I just don't want to go through all of them, but you understand that in the last 2-3 months is AI related stocks were pretty much going crazy, and it doesn't mean that it's gonna stop right here right now. So my point is, if momentum is still there, and come November, December, the stock is trading above 24, I would certainly be looking to trade the squeeze. This stock, I'm pretty sure it's still heavily shorted. We can quickly take a look at the situation here. borrowing rates, and then daily short volume. This is what I'm interested in. So not as aggressive as I thought, but total float could be pretty crazy. I know the stock has diluted you guys quite a bit, and probably, I don't know if they have even more shelf. You need to take a look at the SEC filings. What do they have? So 32% of the float is short. So going back to this, in my opinion, these blocks from September could be buyers. Okay, if you take a look at the largest orders, number 5, number 4 at around 16, and then number 8 at around 16 as well. Number 1 sitting right there too. But today I'm seeing, the last in October, number 6 printed right here, number 2, number 3, and just to give you a perspective, the size of these orders, it's 80 million, number 2, number 3, 77 million, number 6, $67 million order. These are large clusters. But if this stock resolves lower, below these levels, let's say, then I would assume that all these are pretty much people dumping the stock, and it can just play out just like it has done back in October, not October, the December of last year, January of last year, where we saw similar situation, where we saw crazy orders come in. But again, it was after the huge rally. But here, yeah, we're not seeing rally. We're pretty much seeing stair step up. But if we take a look at the volume is going up as well. So if at some point, November or October, the stock trades above this 24, 25, well, you see how all those quantum names going bananas, 20 billion, 15 billion, zero revenue, versus this is a legit business out there, SoundHound. If it trades above 30% of the float from 320 something million outstanding shares, that would be a pretty big recipe, pretty good recipe to squeeze all those shorts. And I would assume all those people who are trading right these blocks as buying or accumulation, okay, if the stock again trades above these levels. If going into the end of the year we see a squeeze higher. But if it resolves lower, well, the really bearish I would turn is when stock loses 200-day moving average, which is $12.30. This is where it's trading. And so far, as long as stock trades above this 20-day moving average, you can see how it's been acting as a support. I would be watching this level as a support as well, and maybe even buy pullbacks into these levels. So let's say it just decides from last option expiration, closing was around 16. It pretty much decides to close October expiration somewhere around here. It would still be bullish for me going into November, December, as long as it stays above 50-day SMA. So far, yeah, we do have a little uptrend. It's still in an uptrend and it's still trying to push, but there's not much of an excitement here. But you will see it after it breaks the breakout. And again, I'm just a breakout trader. That's why I look for, and I just set my alerts like this. You can go take a look at quantum. All right, I just want to give you guys one example how it might look like if it happens. Rigetti, right, does same thing, goes to 20, chops around quite a bit until it breaks that. As soon as it breaks that, you see first wave, pullback, second wave. In a very short period of time, stock pretty much doubled in price. Similar setup in many, like you can take a look at IonQ, QBTS. They're all playing out like that. So SoundHound, pretty much, maybe it might even look like an APLD. Like we were talking about this name earlier, were pretty much, yeah, it might not look like identical. this was the high I was watching. $10 breaks out with a big catalyst, pulls back to that $10, and then builds momentum again, and it just pretty much doubles from there. So something like that. I don't want to make this video too short in terms of put to call ratio. Let's quickly take a look at that one. So in the last, I want to say 7 days, yeah, puts were coming in actually right there in the last 3 days, and even today maybe a little bit more call premium, but we'll see. I'm just not super bulled up going into the option expiration of next week. Even if it decides to pull back, I'm okay with that as long as price remains above 15, let's say. So that's my take for SoundHound. It does look bullish, but again, you have to pretty much position yourself with a better price entry in case it goes south against, you have a more wiggle room essentially. But again, I'm not telling you to buy or sell the stock. This is purely for educational and entertainment purposes only. That's just the update for SoundHound. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.